Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome to tonight's happy hour. This is guys' night plus Heather. We got Heather's here to keep us moving, keep us straight, so everybody knows what's going on. We have a very, very special guest with us tonight. It's somebody that the majority of y'all know, Jimmy Wayne. Welcome, Jimmy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. That's awesome, awesome, awesome. So now, where are you at now? You at home?
I am actually in here in Nashville, sitting in my favorite little chair against the window, kicked back, drinking a cup of garlic and onion soup.
Mm, boy, that sounds
Yummy.
delicious. That sounds delicious for
Ooh,
sure.
wee. Yeah. Get ready. I got a flight tomorrow.
Where you headed out to tomorrow?
Chicago.
Chicago. Ooh,
Yeah.
how long you gonna be up there?
I'll be up there about a day and day and a half, something like that.
You,
Yeah.
you got a speaking engagement?
I do. Yep. I'll be speaking for YPO, Young Presidents Organization, and we're going to be at a food depository helping feed needy families, needy people, hungry people.
Good.
Yeah, enjoy doing that.
That's excellent. There's Kat Kane. Hey, Kat, how you doing? Betsy Green, Missoula, Shirley Jackson. Hey, Regina, good to see you. Suzanne, everybody, good. Christy Blanco, yeah. Thank y'all for joining tonight.
Where do we see
Um,
these names?
On the, it'll be on your right
on your right
in
hand
that
side.
panel.
The little dots, three dots. I
No,
don't
it
see
should
any.
be. It should just be popping up over there.
No, it's okay. I just hello everyone. I can't see you, but anyway.
Now, Heather, if you see anybody, I'm trying to concentrate here with Jimmy. If you see somebody on that's got a question for Jimmy or something like that, let it, holler at us and let us know.
Yeah.
Now, Jimmy, I'm assuming that the majority of people that are with us have been following the show forever, so a lot of people know who you are. But there's going to be some people here who don't. So let's talk a little bit about where you grew up. You grew up in Bessemer City, North Carolina, right?
Yeah, I was born in Kings Mountain and grew up in the Gaston County area, um, primarily in Bessemer City. I went to Bessemer City High School and just moved around a lot when I was a kid, in and out of the foster care system, and went to 12 different public schools in that area within a 2-year school period. So I know a lot of I know a lot of folks in that area. Um, I yeah, I mean, just settled down in Bessemer City after I met this family, a 75, 79-year-old couple that took me in and gave me a home and gave me an opportunity to go back to school, go to work, and pursue and catch my dream. And moved to Nashville in 1998 and got a record deal 3 years after that. And here I am right now.
Well, now, what about the people that you moved in with? I think the Costners. Is that who it was?
Yeah. Yeah,
Are
they're
they still
wonderful
with
folks.
us?
No, Mr. Costner passed away 3 months after I moved in. He had cancer. And I stayed with Beatrice. Her name was Beatrice. She prefer you just call her B. And I stayed with her 6 years.
Really?
Yeah. And then I moved out on my own, and she left in 1997. Changed every fabric in my life and
I
every
have to
cell of
say,
my
these
life.
are some. These have to be great. Have been great people. They had to be great people.
Absolutely, absolutely. Reminds me of a lot of people I met, along my walk, when I did that walk across America, and
Yeah.
met so many wonderful people, just like B and Russell. But yeah, they were extraordinary people. Honestly, that just to take in a kid that's homeless, that you know nothing about, and took me in, gave me a chance, and here I am because of them. It's I don't know where I'd be without them. That's for sure.
That's that in itself. That in itself is a wonderful story. I do want to talk a little bit about the walk. I don't know how many people are familiar with that. The Meet Me Halfway walk.
Hmm.
And I know that was to raise awareness to the tons of thousands and thousands of kids that age out
Oh
at
yeah.
18 at that time, and
Hmm.
you were sort of bring them to the forefront. Tell us about the walk itself.
Well, in 2009, I was on this major tour and spent all that summer on tour, and was just having so much fun. And it was like one long party. And that winter, I was standing in the foyer of my townhome, just thinking about all that, and I just looked outside, and I turned around and nudged the temperature up a few degrees, and when the furnace turned on, the heat started blowing through the floor vent. It was just like this overwhelming sense of guilt consumed me. It reminded me of a promise I made when I was a young boy laying in bed at the group home, the foster homes. And I used to say, I'd have my earphones on, and whomever I was listening to, I'd always pretend I was them. And I'd always say, one day when I make it, I'm going to come back and help all of my brothers and sisters in foster care. And, I'd done a few charity events and fundraising events, but I felt like I hadn't done enough. And especially for the 30,000 children that age out every year in America into homelessness. Many of them immediately become homeless. And so I got off of this tour, and I thought, I'm going to be here in Nashville. I can write songs here or anywhere, and this would be a perfect time to do something to raise awareness for those kids. And I just had this 3-week #1 song. It's called "Do You Believe Me Now?" And the spotlight was on me, and I thought, wow, it'd be a perfect opportunity to turn the spotlight on them and raise awareness for them, so that hopefully somebody might be interested in getting involved and helping them, like this family being Russell Costner that helped me. And this idea just came out of just fell in my hands, if you will, like a better word. I decided to walk halfway across America, and it just happened. So,
Terry Mills asks, how many pair of shoes did you
That's
wear?
a great question.
How many
great question, Terry. Great. How many?
8 pair.
8?
Yeah, 8 pair. So I walked and I thought this walk was only going to take me about 3 months. But needless to say, it took 7 months. And I would do 20 miles one day. The next day I might do 10. And it was back and forth like that. But my God, I met so many amazing human beings out there on that walk. I mean, I'm telling you, there is so many wonderful people right here in our home country. It's just amazing. The back roads of America is just filled with so many wonderful people. They would come out to the edge of their driveway. Check this out. They would literally hear about this on the radio, the Bob and Sheri show, or some local news station, radio station, and they would wait on me to come by their house, and they would stand at the end of their driveway and hold a cup of coffee. Unbelievable. The hospitality is just unbelievable. And some of these families would invite me to come into their home and eat dinner. Some of them would invite me to stay in their guest rooms. There were some that didn't even know who I was. They just knew there was a guy walking to raise awareness for foster kids. They didn't know I sing. They didn't know anything about my career or anything. I was just some random guy. But they came out and got involved and wanted to help. It was just an amazing walk.
Makes you feel good. Makes you feel good about the country a little bit, doesn't it? Because there's a ton of people out there that are great, great people.
Oh yeah,
that is so cool.
Yeah, when I hear, I always try to encourage people not to get stuck on what they might see or hear on, on social media or news or whatever. There's so many good people out there, and I've met them. They've come out and helped me. I have so many stories from that walk. It was just mind-boggling. But the one takeaway that I get, the biggest takeaway, if you will, would be how good those people were that I met. It's just amazing, amazing people.
Do you have a memory? Do you have a memory when things are tough? You're seeing all this negative stuff that you draw back on, and a story that you think about.
Well, there was a lot of tough moments. 6 miles into the walk, I was thinking, what in the world am I doing? I had this big bag on my back. Oh my God. And, I did not look at the weather.
Let's start right here. Real quick question now. once you got this idea that you felt like this is what you needed to do, how many days later did you start walking? How much prep time did you do?
It was December 3rd when I decided to do this walk. It was December 22nd when we told the public. I had already told my manager. And the 27th, I received my clothes from Marmot. They were a sponsor. And a couple of days later, I was on the ground walking. I left and walked out of Nashville. And it was, it was so crazy. It was so crazy. But yeah, so I think the hardest part for me was the winter was tough, but I could always put clothes on to stay warm. It was when I got into Texas, and especially when I got into Arizona and was walking downhill into Phoenix, and that's when I broke my foot. So I walked.
Yeah, how did that happen?
It just wear and tear. I just walked until
too much.
Broke. Yeah, walked until my right foot just broke. The toughest part of the walk, believe it or not, has been since the walk. I am just dealing with all kinds of other wear and tear issues, if you will. Just over the years, my hip and my knee on my right side has been giving me a problem from that walk. But not complaining, just explaining. They told me to do it, so I'm glad I did it. Wouldn't take a step of it back. It was just amazing.
All right, well, let's get back to where Heather's question about a great story. I didn't mean to sidetrack you, but it just dawned on me that if you didn't do a whole lot of preparation, which, you did a minimal amount, I think, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, I thought I was relatively athletic.
I get that.
Until you start walking. So that's when it dawned on me. 6 miles into this, I was thinking, I'm really doing this. And I think it's when the fanfare went away, because I was on stage at Madison Square Garden. I was playing all these really amazing venues, and I decided to do something that was, some may think and some have said that I walked away from my career, but that's furthest thing from the truth. I didn't walk away from my career. Actually, during the walk, I was fulfilling all of my commitments to leave the walk, mark the area with the GPS, and the support car that was following me would take me to the closest airport, and I'd go off and do a show. So I was fulfilling all those commitments. It was just an extension of my music, of who I am and who I've always been. When I first got my record deal, my first song I wrote was a song called Paper Angels, and it was a song to raise awareness for the Angel Tree program that the Salvation Army has every year. They provide toys and food for needy families and children, and that organization provided me my first guitar. So I've always tried to give back, and I've just never forgotten the people that helped me. The Bob Sheri show is the first radio station ever to have me on air. I'll never forget that. And so I just never forget these people. And that's what it was about. I just wanted to give back. That's all it was. It was like that.
I am in awe that you were walking and then going and doing a show, because I cannot imagine how physically exhausting that must have been.
When did you? How much? When did you rest? Now, you said people offered for you to stay. Did y'all stay in hotels across, or did you sleep in the car? Or
I'm going to tell you how good people are. There was one young lady. Her name is Alana. You can call her Alana, but I call her Alana Conaway. She wrote for Country Weekly. She wrote some posts for other online media outlets, and this girl would write. She was a professional writer. She would write these articles about the walk. Well, she would get paid to write these articles. She'd take that check, and she would maybe call a hotel. She'd find out where I was walking and would call a hotel up the road and donate a room with that money.
Amazing.
Amazing people. And so there was people every single day Someone was coming out. Someone was doing something. I ate better out there than I do at home. Listen, I gained 10 pounds out there.
Wow.
I came back. I came back 10 pounds heavier. I've been working trying to get it off since. I'm not lying. It was absolutely amazing. I met this family in Caddo Gap, Arkansas. Even before that, I met some folks along the back roads between here and Memphis, Tennessee. Mr. Riley gave me the big skiing goggles, and oh man. And then I met the pastor in near Memphis and went to their house and ate soup. I met this wonderful family, the Warren family in Caddo Gap, Arkansas. They always, to me, they always come to mind first because what this family did for me during that walk is unmatched. I got all my clothes stolen through in the middle of the walk, and they stole my suitcase. They stole everything. The only thing I had was the clothes I had on. So, yep, and of course, you know.
So not everybody's great.
Well, not everybody, but as soon as Bob and Sheri heard about that, you can only imagine how I wouldn't say mad, but how eager Sheri was to get my clothes back. She was on. Oh my! You know how she is, man. She was eager.
Yes.
She was so funny. She said, "If you see anybody out there wearing ski goggles, call the cops," or whatever she said. I don't know what it was. She was funny, man. So this family heard about what had happened, and they came out and found me. Was walking in the snow, and said, "Come back to our house and stay." I stayed with this family a week because a snowstorm had come in and basically just shut everything down. And I stayed with them an entire week. They fed me. They boarded me for free. Couldn't give them any money. And to this day, we're friends, and just a wonderful family, the Warren family. And then I walked on into Oklahoma and met Justin Jackson. He's probably watching. He's a hunter up there in I don't know all the areas, but he has a lodge up on top of the hill. And it's funny because I have a song called, I don't know why he even thought this. It makes no sense to me, but he let me stay at his house, and he's got all these animals and stuff in it. And I don't hunt, but I don't talk about it, and I don't put down people who do that or anything like that. And so I'm just quiet. But he did some research on me and found out that I had written a song called "The Rabbit," and he thought I was an undercover agent from PETA. Man, the stories I have from this walk is unbelievable. There was one story where this man came out, and I told someone the story the other day. He saw me in West Tennessee, and it's on the back road before you get to Memphis, and it's real country, and he kind of creeps up beside me in this truck, and he's I'm gonna turn sideways because this is how he looked at me. So he's driving up beside me, and turns at me and does like this, and I'm like, and he has this little bag. I don't know how big a bag that's probably this big.
Yeah.
And he says, "You want some chicken?" I said, "Chicken?" And it's cold. The trees are dark, and the truck is coasting real slow, and he's holding this brown bag. It has all these grease spots in it. It's greasy. And he holds it out the window and he says, "I got it at Gus's up the road." And I walked over to the window and I took the bag and I looked at these chicken legs. I'm like, how young was that chick? Because those chicken legs were that long. I mean, it looked like miniature carrots. I was like, so I just took the bag and, I didn't. He said, "You want to come to my mother-in-law's house tonight for dinner?" Now, they're probably watching this, but anyway, this is the truth. And so, long story short, I said, "Sure, my support car driver, just give him the information, and I would love to come over." So we would go to people's houses, and that would give me a chance to sit down with just the average person and talk to them about these kids aging out of foster care, because
Yeah.
the walk was about raising awareness. So I would go anywhere, sleep anywhere, eat at anyone's table. It was all about raising awareness. So I went to these people's houses, and as soon as I walked in, that same man who was dressed in a farmer's hat earlier with overalls or something was now in a sweater with a tie, and his hair was combed back real smooth. And I learned that he had just been out campaigning to the white collar folks. So he was switching costumes, and he was a politician. So I sat there for a minute. He said, "Are you carrying?" And I said, "Huh?" He said, "Are you carrying?" I said, "Fingernail clippers." And he said, "Can I search you?" And I was like, we're sitting at the dinner table. So this dinner table is a long table with all the women on this side and all the men on this side. And he's sitting beside me asking me, can he search me? And we're this close. And I just kind of looked at him and I said, well, if I can turn on my video and film it and let everybody see it, because I had this app that you could watch real time. It's kind of like what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And I said, if I can film it. He said, well, what's that mean? And I said, well, it means that everybody can watch you. And he says, no, never mind. And we're sitting at this table, and then this young man walks in, and the lady across the table says, this is my son. He's the owner of a funeral home. Want to go see a funeral home? And I said, nah. I said, it's 9:30 at night. I think I want to go ahead and head on. They said, well, what if we get you a hotel room? And I said, sure, that'd be fine. Long story short, you sure you don't want us to go to the funeral home? And I said, no, I'm really not interested in going to a funeral home. After dinner, they said, well, follow us. We'll lead you to the hotel. We're going down this long, dark, winding back road. And we're going to the hotel, right? My support car driver's driving. I've walked 20 miles. I am so exhausted. I'm sitting there like this. And we pull into a parking lot. And it said, funeral home. I'm like, man, I do not want to go in a funeral home at 10 o'clock at night. Well, we're there. He said, come on, we'll be here for a few minutes. Step out, go in. It's dark. The lights are off. And all of a sudden, the young man turns on the light, and there's this man standing there with his arms crossed in the dark. Now the light's on, and he's looking at me.
Ooh.
And this politician says, meet such and such. He's the other owner of the funeral home, and he's also the chief of the police department.
Okay.
I said, Now, backing up to that dinner at the table, the mom, when she introduced her son and said he was the owner of the funeral home, she also said, we don't wish people would die, but business is slow around here. And I was like, so now that's going in I'm thinking of this. I'm in this funeral home. Well, they said, why don't you come on back here in the back? And I said, okay. Support car driver's with me. We walked back there, and they said, why don't you stand over there near the caskets? And I thought, I went over and stood near the caskets, and I did this. I said, and they said, took a picture of me. I'm like, I got to go, man. Let me out of here. So we left. Long story short, went to the hotel. Got up the next morning. My manager was calling me. She says, Jimmy, did you know that you're, no, she said, Jimmy, I guess you're promoting a funeral home. And I said, what? She said, yep, front page. There you are. And there I was.
So front business page was slow. They needed some advertisement to bring in some business.
Didn't talk about the kids.
Funeral home mascot, Jimmy Wayne.
See, now listen. I'm God bless you, brother, because I'm here to tell you, if I'm in what you have just described to me, I would have been terrified.
So I make it to one of the most beautiful states in America, New Mexico.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's a hidden gem. It is unbelievably beautiful. So I'm walking down Route 60. Now, Route 60 is the original West Coast to East Coast highway. It was there before Route 66. It's old.
Yeah.
These buildings are so old and rustic, and it's just beautiful. So I'm walking, and I walk into this town called Pie Town, Pie Town. And I keep walking, and there's a restaurant. It says Pioneer. So it's the Pioneer. I walk in. I sit down. There's not much going on, but this young lady walks over, and she pours me a cup of coffee, and she says, "What brings you through Pie Town?" I said, "Well, I'm doing this walk halfway across America." And, explained to her what I was doing. She said, "Did you know that Jimmy Buffett's coming through here today?" And I said, "Uh-uh." And I got to thinking, wait a minute, Jimmy Buffett's in the Gulf doing a fundraising event in his hometown because there was an oil spill. They've got us mixed up.
Yeah.
Well, this lady come in the door and she says, "We're having a Jimmy Buffett party tonight at the Toaster House." And I said, "Oh boy." So they think, instead of me, they think Jimmy Buffett's supposed to be walking through. Well, they asked me if I wanted to come to the Jimmy Buffett party. And I'm like, now let me just remind you that out there on the back roads, some of these towns are 50 miles away from one another.
Oh,
I mean, you are out there and you never see a police officer. There might be a sheriff. There was one town that didn't have, they had 3 police, one town called Vaughn, New Mexico, had 3 police officers. One had a warrant for child support. One couldn't arrest because he sold the police station's gun to somebody. The only police officer that could arrest was their dog, and it couldn't arrest. I'm telling you, these stories are crazy out there. 3 police officers. One had a, it was, anyway. So this is what I'm out there amongst. So I knew not to say anything. I was thinking, like, I better not say anything because I don't want these people to get mad at me. So I said, "Nah, I think I'm gonna go ahead and keep walking." And they said, "Well, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have all kinds of pies, Margaritaville pies, and everything." So I said, "No, I'm gonna go ahead and go." And I started walking out of this town, and then it was like someone turned a switch on, and it started raining. I mean, pouring down lightning, hail, rain. So I've got these trekking poles with these titanium tips, and I don't think you need to be out there walking on a road with titanium tips with lightning. So I'm thinking, well, where am I going to go? Well, I went to the Toaster House. So now I'm in the Toaster House, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, there's people showing up with instruments. I mean, banjos, fiddles. This one dude come walking in with his big stand-up bass, and they're waiting on Jimmy Buffett to show up. So I'm like, I'm sitting there, and my nephew at this time was the support car driver, and he's saying, I'm telling him, don't say a word, just remain quiet, and just go along with it. And so they're in there, and they started drinking and smoking. This party, they went on singing Jimmy Buffett songs. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And it was in a hostel. So if you've never seen a hostel, it's basically where people who travel across America can just lay down for the night and sleep. It's some of the nastiest places you've ever seen. I mean, it is disgusting. Anyway, so these people started drinking and smoking, and they started one by one started passing out. And by 3 or 4 o'clock, there was one person standing in the living room like that, and they finally passed out. Well, I got up early and left a note and said that Jimmy Buffett walked through when y'all were passed out. I left. Now, I've since gone back and talked to him, and we're friends, and we laugh. God, they're thinking, we can't believe we were that crazy for thinking that he was going to come. But it made for a great, great, great story. Great experience. Goodness gracious. It was crazy.
Was the pie good?
The pie was homemade.
Ooh.
So it was homemade pie. And then that's the reason the town got the name Pie Town, because that's where it started back in the Great Depression, there was a man who traveled from Texas, maybe on a tractor. He drove a tractor, and they just settled down in this middle of nowhere somewhere, and he knew how to make pies. Now that's all the story I have. It might be kind of far-fetched, I don't know, but he would sell them on the road when passerbyers would drive by on 60. He started selling pies, and that built the town, and that's why it's called Pie Town. So if you're out there in New Mexico, go through Pie Town, stop at the Pioneer, and get the best piece of pie you've ever had in your life. You won't forget it, I promise you.
All right. Here's the other part of the walk I want to know about. I want to know about the dog. Because I'm a dog person. I want to know about the dog.
Ruby.
Where did you where did you come up with, where did Ruby catch up with you at?
Ruby. I was in White Deer, Texas. And like I said, I was staying at people's houses. My plan was to stay outside and sleep, simulate being homeless. But I didn't have to do much of that because, again, there were so many people that were just so nice to me. And this guy pulled up in his truck and saw me walking, and Drew Hodges is his name. He just said, "Hey, I heard about you walking. Me and my buddies, we got a big old house over here, and you got room if you want to come over and stay." And of course, me and my sport car driver, we took him up on the offer and went over there. And I saw these 3 dogs in a bed, and they were really small dogs. And 2 of them were hugged up face to face, and this other one had her back to them, and she was the runt. And I thought, you know what? She kind of reminds me of these kids that I'm walking for, because, they kind of feel neglected, and, So I took to her and ended up telling Drew, I said, "Man, I really like that dog, but I can't carry that dog, right? And I'm walking across America." Well, about a week later.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh,
there he is.
So,
Are you there?
Yeah, the last thing we got was a month later.
Yeah, about a month later, I made it to Amarillo, Texas, which is the halfway point between Nashville and Phoenix. So Amarillo, and it's a nice little crowd. And then in the middle of this event, I see him show up, and he basically just hands me the dog and sort of kind of disappears.
Here you go.
Here you go. And managed to get the dog back to back home. And when I got back from the walk, I'm telling you, there's not another dog I've ever seen or had in my life that was as sweet as that little dog. She was just unbelievably sweet. And so I wrote this book with Ken Abraham called Walk to Beautiful. It's been on the New York Times list 3 times, and there's a lot of schools out there that's implemented this book into their curriculum, and churches and families have read it to their kids. But there's some folks out there that say, that book's too gritty for my kids. I can't read it to them. It talks about murder and real life stuff, and Lord knows we just don't want them to be exposed to real life stuff. And I was like, well, what if I wrote a book that they could read that would introduce them to foster care and tell them a little bit about the walk across America? And I thought, I got it. This dog can tell the story. So I wrote a book called Ruby the Foster Dog. And so she tells the story basically about being adopted, and some of the walk across America. It's funny, it's educational, and very uplifting. And so, yeah, that's where her full name is Ruby Amarillo.
Ruby Amarillo.
Ruby Amarillo. Oh, yeah.
What was she? Any kind of mixture that you know of, or just a dog?
I don't know. Yeah, just a small dog. I don't think she ever got above 13 pounds. She was just a good dog, really good dog.
That's really good.
Oh yeah,
really
it was great,
good.
Man. So I headed through Payson, Arizona, and then as I was coming down the Beeline Highway, that's when my foot broke. But the night before my foot broke, I'm walking, and I saw these little shiny things on the road, and it looks like what do you call that stuff you put on Christmas trees? It's like
tinsel?
Strands. Tinsel.
Tinsels, like the aluminum tinsel stuff.
So it kind of looks like tinsel laying on the road, and it was snakes.
God. Oh my God.
Snakes in the dark. I'm walking on the Beeline Highway, and there's snakes laying on the road in Arizona. Folks, I'm telling you, these things they're that big around.
No.
They're laying there stretched out, staying warm or whatever they're doing, waiting on me, I guess. But I had this headlamp on, and I could shine, and I could see that snake laying on the road. Crazy.
Do you know what kind of snakes they were?
Coral snakes and rattlesnakes. It was crazy, but you can hear a rattlesnake, right?
Yeah.
So they'll warn you, so you can get around them. So I'd walk around a rattlesnake because I'd hear it, and so I'd just keep walking. And there was a state trooper, Eric Lamb is his name, Trooper Lamb, and ironically his name's Lamb. He pulled me over as I was walking. He said, "You know, this is the deadliest route in the state of Arizona, and if it's okay with you, I'm just going to follow you behind. I'm going to follow behind you as you walk down the Beeline Highway." I mean, that's how kind people were. This is a state trooper telling me this. So as I'm walking, he's behind me in his trooper, in his patrol car, following me with his bright lights on, with all of his lights blinking. So cars were getting over in the left lane. He's following me. I can see the snakes very well, and I'm heading down the Beeline Highway, and that's how I got through that area of Payson that night. Crazy walk.
Was there any moment where you thought, I don't know if I want to do this anymore when you were walking? Was that one of them?
6 miles into it. No, I'll tell you when it was. It was in Adrian, Texas. And that's when I saw my first rattlesnake. I was walking, and I would wear my earbuds that we would wear on stage when we perform at concerts and stuff. They're called in-ear molds. They fit inside your ear. So they block out all the sound from a stage. So when a drummer's behind you just beating those drums, you put these things in your ears, and it blocks that drummer out. That's why a lot of the old school musicians have lost their hearing, is because they didn't have these ear molds, and they were just listening to monitors, and the music's so loud. But they've invented these molds that go in and protect your hearing. Yeah. However, when you're walking across America and you're wearing ear molds that block out all the sound, you can't hear rattlesnakes.
Oh no, damn, yeah.
Oh, you do not want to wear ear molds when you're walking across America. That day, for some reason, I just wanted to listen to the
nature.
Yeah, that's it. I'd been listening to audiobooks, the same kind of different as me. I listened to it 9 times. Ron Hall's book, incredible book. God, it's incredible. Same kind of different as me. It's just incredible. So anyway, I'm listening to that book, but that day I had my ear molds out, and I literally walked right up on top of this thick rattlesnake. That thing was about that big around, and it was laid there, and it coiled up, and my foot or my trekking pole, or one or the other, hit this thing, and it started popping, and the rattle was going. This rattle was so tall, it was a little bit taller than my finger. That about made me quit. Yeah.
So now, when you were walking at night, was that because it was too hot to walk during the day?
No, I was trying to get 20 miles in a day.
Oh, okay.
And there was a lieutenant colonel that came out and walked with me. He ended up becoming the commander of the Old Guard and the Arlington Cemetery. Wonderful guy, Lieutenant Colonel Jason Garkey, stand-up guy. He listened to the Bob and Sheri podcast, and that's how he met me. Is he was listening to the Bob and Sheri show and learned about my walk. So he called my manager to see if he could come out and walk with me. And I thought, yeah, bring it, come on. He came out, and I said, brother, I like you, but you got to go home. This sucker could walk. I couldn't get him to quit. I was like, dude, you are walking me to death. You gotta go home. He was just walking and talking and laughing. And 20 miles, 25 miles, still walking. I'm like, I'm done. So,
Wow.
he a wonderful guy. So, yeah, just it was an amazing. It was an amazing experience. There's really no way to really comprehend what it's like until you actually do it. You can
Yeah.
imagine it. You can imagine it, but you can't really comprehend it. I mean, the stories and the people I met, just absolutely unbelievable.
What a great experience.
It's amazing.
Were you ever really lonely? Because I mean, I feel like I would be, even though there's someone behind you following you. I feel like you get so. For me, I'm so used to being connected with everybody.
Yeah, there's people who have to have that, connection with other people. Growing up in the foster care system, I was alone, and just moving around from this home. You might be in this home 1 week, maybe 1 month, and then all of a sudden your social worker just picks you up and takes you across town to another home. So I never made friends because I learned that you could be moved and your friendships will just be severed just like that. And so I just never
in a
really
moment's notice.
yeah, and you lose friends just like that. And so out there on the road, it was kind of like I was already conditioned to be alone. And I was out there, and when you're walking across America, or when you're just walking that kind of distance, the first couple of weeks, I felt like I'm this country singer that's walking across America, and everybody probably knows who I am. I learned really quick that a lot of people didn't know and simply didn't care who I was. They just knew that I was a guy walking for kids. They could care less about the music part.
Yeah.
I actually met a guy in New Mexico who had never, listen to this, he had never heard of Garth Brooks.
What?
I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's so many stories, like they're so far removed from, I wouldn't say society, but they're so alone that this guy had never even heard of Garth Brooks. I'm like, I asked him, I said, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but man, where have you been? He showed me his hands. He put his hands up and they were so calloused, looked like elephant skin. He said, working. I'll never forget that. Working. And these were real ranchers. These were guys that had mustache down to here that wore chaps because that was part of their outfit for work. They wore spurs. They wore cowboy hats. These were the real deal cowboys. These guys were no joke. And I never even heard of Garth Brooks. Being a cowboy and still never heard of Garth Brooks. I couldn't believe it. But it was crazy. So being alone was my point is the first couple of weeks I kind of felt alone in some way, but I think that was my ego felt kind of like, well, where's everybody at? Why aren't, I'm used to people stopping and asking for autographs. You know what I mean? When you get caught up in the you get used to that attention and it's a drug. It truly is a drug. You get used to people coming at you, taking pictures, asking for autographs. You just get caught up in it. And it took me a couple of weeks, couple of months, and certainly by the third month of this walk, I had thought of everything I could possibly think of. I had talked to myself. I started basically just changing. And I left Nashville one way. I came back physically and mentally and certainly spiritually a completely different human being. And I never looked back. I never looked back because in the middle of the walk, I got a phone call from my manager and they told me that my record label had dropped me. And I couldn't understand that because they were there on the front end of the walk and they were supporting me and cheering me on as I was walking out of Nashville. But then for some reason they decided to part company with me during the walk. Now I will say this, at the time I thought it was the worst thing in the world because I had worked so hard to get a record deal. I had sacrificed so much, practiced so many hours. I mean, I did everything right. I did everything I thought I was supposed to do. And to get dropped without even a phone call or an email or just, it was devastating. But looking back on that experience, had that not happened, my life, the trajectory of my life, certainly wouldn't be the way it is now. Because after I got back from that walk, I was standing at my kitchen sink downstairs, and I had lost my record deal. Every single co-writing appointment that was on my calendar for multiple months, every single songwriter texted me. They didn't call me. They texted me, "Hey man, I can't write." I lost all of my writing appointments. Most of my team left. Um, Not to get too personal, but everybody basically just not everybody, but a few people stayed. Anyway, so I was feeling so incredibly rejected.
Oh yeah. Yes.
I mean, I'm just out there doing something to help somebody, and all of these people left. Well, the fans didn't leave. The fans were, because I didn't let them know what was going on, because I just didn't need to do that. But I was standing at my kitchen sink, and I was thinking, I was like, all right. And so I'm talking. I'm like, God, what's the next step? What am I supposed to do here? And it was like the same voice that I heard standing at my thermostat that told me to walk across America is the same voice I heard that told me, write your story. Just write it down. And I turned to my right and I logged onto my iPad and I wrote these words. My first memory is, and I started writing my life story. Now, I thought that I was writing my life story in chronological order. Every taste, touch, sound, smell. I mean, the doorknob to the hinges on the door, what it looked like, what the light looked like, what the string coming from the light, what the trees outside, every single memory I could think of. I wrote everything down in chronologically order from the time I was 2 years old to the current time. I was 37 years old. I wrote everything. It took me 4.5 months to do this. We're talking 12-hour-a-day writing sessions. I'd sit and write and write and write. And so I thought, well, what am I going to do with this? And it's too long to put on Facebook, even if I posted, one blog. It was so long. The very week, not the very month, the very week I finished writing all of my notes, I got a phone call from a lady named Deborah Price. She and I just did Joe Bonzwell's book release party at the Country Music Hall of Fame 3 nights ago. And she called me and she says, "Hey, Jimmy," and left a voicemail. "I need you to do an event for me. You're not going to get paid, and it's going to be in a barn." And I thought, the last thing I want to do is another free event for anyone in the music business. And I certainly don't want to do it in a barn. You know what I mean? Like flies and cow patties and all sorts of things. So I didn't call back right away, and I sat and just marinated on it, and I thought, I should call her back. No, not now. Call her back. No. So this went on, and I was basically just trying to figure out how to get out of it. I was trying to think of a way to just call her and tell her no, instead of just calling her and saying no. It was a little bit complicated. That's a better way of saying that, or that's another way of saying BSing someone. I could have just called her and said no, but I didn't. So anyway, I had to go up the road from here. I got in my car and I went up the street here, and it's raining, not hard, but the windshield wipers are doing this. They're just pulsing, and every few seconds they do like that. And I'm sitting there looking at this red light, and this streak of water came down across my windshield, and the wiper said, the red light was shining through this streak of water, and it looked like blood. And then the wipers wiped this streak of water away, and the cross street said Church Street. And I started laughing because I was like, man, if my mom saw that, she would say, "It's a sign, Jimmy. It's a sign, Jimmy." Because everything was a sign to her. Like, she would drink a whole bottle of Canadian Mist and be tore up from the floor up. But Sunday morning, she'd be down in front and center of the church. "I fly away, oh glory." And that's how it was in our house. It was so confusing because it was liquor and religion. And Everything was a sign. The lights on the utility poles everything was watching us. Oh my God. But I started laughing. I thought, man, if my mom saw that, she would say, Jimmy, it's a sign. You better call that woman back. It's a sign. It's a sign. So in honor of my mom, I said, I'm going to call her back. I called Deb and I said, Deb, I'll do your event. She was so happy. She said, I'm going to give you the address. I didn't know what the event was. I just knew where it was. But when I showed up, it wasn't a barn like shoveling hay. It was the Loveless Cafe barn, which is immaculate. Has air conditioning, fried chicken, sweet tea. It was beautiful. I walked in, did my sound check, got up to do my show. I did a 20-minute set, got off stage. They stood up 3 times and gave me 3 standing ovations. It was crazy. I got off stage and this lady in the audience ran up to me and she says, have you written your story? Because I shared my story, right? And I said, yeah, I've written it. And she says, oh. And I said, no, I've written it down on an iPad. I haven't written it. She said, well, guess what you just did? You just auditioned in front of the entire Thomas Nelson HarperCollins book publishing company, and we want to publish your life story. Gave me a book deal.
So maybe it was a sign.
Hey, it was a sign.
Hey,
it's a sign. It's a sign, Jimmy. It's a sign. She was right. 4 days later, I met Ken Abraham and his wife, Lisa. 15 months later, because all those notes that I had written, I took them over to Ken's house, and Ken said, well, we're going to have to do a lot of interviews. And I said, man, I don't know if we're going to have to do that many interviews. And I just gave him all of these notes, and that was very new to him because he's used to writing for people like Chuck Norris, who gave him a slip of paper, and he's written Buzz Aldrin's book you name it. Anyway, so he's not used to someone showing up so prepared, and I had all these notes. Anyway, he took about 1,700 pages of all of these notes and consolidated it, and it would be like 3 pages in a single paragraph without losing anything. My voice. Yeah. It was crazy. And as soon as the book was published, it went to the New York Times list, and it went there 3 times, and started getting booked for speaking engagements, and they have been amazing because I've been to Russia, to Hawaii, to Alaska, to Guatemala. I mean, I've been everywhere speaking, sharing my life story. But wow, it's amazing.
That's awesome. That is absolutely awesome.
Never look back.
That's really good. That's really good.
Sorry I didn't give y'all a chance to talk. I just talked the whole time. I talked.
Oh no. This has been so interesting. And
anybody got any questions?
There has been people. Everybody loves listening to this story. I mean, oh my God, because it's been great. I mean, it has been great. And what an interesting life, though. And also the Paper Angels.
Yeah,
that turned into a movie, right?
Well, it's another story if you got time for it.
Yeah, we've got about 6 minutes.
Yeah, knock it out.
So I was a recipient of the Angel Tree program, the Salvation Army Angel Tree program in 1982. You ready for this?
Yeah.
In 1987, the Salvation Army gave me my first guitar through the Angel Tree program. My social worker had signed me up to it. Fast forward, I got my record deal in 2001 with DreamWorks. The first song I wrote after I got my record deal was a song called Paper Angels because I wanted to give back to that organization that had gifted me my first guitar. Well, I presented this song to the record label, and I won't mention names, but there were some executives who said, yeah, I don't know what a paper angel is. You know, they didn't let me put it on the album. And there was one individual that said, they called the idea stupid. I said, it's not stupid. Paper angels may sound stupid. I don't know, but to him it was stupid. Anyway, so they didn't let me put it on the album. Well, I went in because if you know me, you know 2 things. You know I love coffee, and you know if I want something, I will ask you until you say yes. I will figure out how to get you to say yes, because I'm telling you, once I believe in it, if I believe in it, and I'm so passionate about it, I know I'm not giving up. So I went in. And I just sit and looked at him. I was like, you may not know what a paper angel is, but I know what a paper angel is. And the fact that you don't know what a paper angel is the reason why you need to let me put it on the album, because you need to know what a paper angel is. And I would just go, and they would say, no, Jimmy. I wore them down. Finally, they said, okay, listen, you can put the song on the album, but don't ask that it's ever going to be a single. What that means, don't ask us to ever put it on the radio. It'll never be played on the radio. So, okay. So we recorded it, and then, very long story short, they kicked it off the project. I went back in the record label. I'm like, what? You got to be kidding me. They finally, after all this, put it back on the project and squeezed it on there. It's kind of at the end of the project. And so we go out on a radio tour. Radio tour means I travel to every radio station in America over a 10-month period, and I play my single, which was a song called Stay Gone. Went up the Billboard charts to number 3, stayed there for 3 weeks. I was 30 years old. Lots of threes. Anyway, so after I played that song, I'd sneak over to the program director and I'd say, man, I've got this other song and it's going to be Christmas. After this single's ran its course, then it'll be Christmas time. This will be a perfect Christmas song. So I'd play Paper Angels. I wasn't supposed to do that. I mean, that was totally against the record label's unwritten rules. And so anyway, that Christmas, radio stations started playing the song. Well, the word got back to the record label that they were playing the song, and now they're frustrated and they're like, that song was not supposed to be a single. It's not supposed to be played. Well, they were forced to play it because radio is king. So radio started playing it. Well, it went for ads, and what that means to the average person that don't know anything about music business, ads means when a radio station adds your song to their playlist list, start playing the song. It was the first week most added country Christmas song in history, and the person that had a little less ads than that held the record, and it was in 1982. So my song took that place. So that was the first time I was recipient of the Angel Tree program, and it broke that record that was held that year. Anyway, so the song ended up becoming a book, and obviously ended up becoming a made-for-TV movie. So anybody can see it now on Hallmark. Any of those inspirational channels. You just got to keep fighting, man. You can't give up. If you believe in something, you just got to keep fighting. Who out there has the right to tell you no if you're not doing something wrong, right? If you really believe in something and you're so passionate about it, I would never ever compromise that. No,
absolutely.
No way. I tell you what, what all you have accomplished is a absolute testimony to that, and I applaud you for it. I mean, really.
I appreciate it, Lamar. I didn't do it by myself. I had a lot of people. I had so many people, and I still have so many people in my corner right now. I mean, Betsy's on here watching. She's such an amazing supporter of mine. Pam, folks over there, my sister, and gosh, I have so many people. I won't mention everybody's name because I can't remember them off the top right now, or I'm going to miss somebody, but they know who they are. Yeah. Still a lot of people out there that just, the Bob and Sheri show.
Well, you certainly are a person easy to support and easy to be in the corner for. There's no doubt about it.
Appreciate it very much.
Yeah. Well, Heather, is it about time for us to?
Yeah. So Lamar, why don't you tell them what you're reviewing tomorrow?
I am reviewing Lonely Planet, and this is a completely different review than I've probably ever done. I've done a lot of different strange reviews, but this is probably one you won't want to miss. Lonely Planet. Yep, that's it. So it's been a pleasure, Jimmy Wayne. Thank you so much for coming on. And I got to tell you, all it's been is just a list of everybody, how much they enjoy your story and how you tell a story. And everybody's enjoyed this tonight. It's been great. And we can't thank you enough. Thank everybody for joining us at Happy Hour tonight. And y'all have a wonderful weekend. Talk to you soon. See ya.
Okay.